Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Well, good day, friends. This is Dr. Blair Ritchie with ISF and welcoming you to another episode in Legends in Leadership. ISF is a wonderful organization whose vision is transforming today's aged-out foster care youth into tomorrow's leaders. And we just love this opportunity as Leadership Podcast. With me today are my co-hosts from the Carrington Group, family officers Tyler Tallman, Jason Smith. Guys.
Hello.
Good to be with you.
Hello. Good to be on the show.
Yeah, as always, we love starting this little podcast with a trivia question. We are fascinated by stories of leaders who, like us, come from humble beginnings and then rise up to make a difference in people's lives. So, Tyler, you have a little trivia for us today, right?
Yes, sir. So a story of redemption. This legendary leader followed in his father's footsteps into the legal profession. His career track from George Washington University Law School led to founding his own law firm and all the way to the highest positions of power in Washington, D.C. He became known as President Nixon's hatchet man.
Ooh.
I know.
Ooh.
Ooh. At the height of the Watergate scandal, he was named as one of the Watergate 7, eventually pled guilty to obstruction of justice and landed in a federal prison in Alabama. But just prior to entering prison, he experienced a religious conversion upon reading a book by C.S. Lewis entitled Mere Christianity. While in prison, he witnessed the injustices and hardships facing prisoners, and upon release, he began a nonprofit ministry called Prison Fellowship that became a national leader in prison reform. He would go on to become one of the most influential Christian leaders of his generation, being awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal by President George W. Bush in 2008. So who was this legendary leader? We'll be back at the close of today's show with the answer.
Man, that's a story.
Mm-hmm.
That's a story. A little tease here at the end of the program today. We're going to make a significant announcement about a major event that Legends in Leadership is hosting on May the 1st, and it's your story of redemption fits right in with that. So I'll tease that, and don't let me forget to come back to that.
I won't. It's going to be awesome.
Event. Well, today I'm excited about welcoming our special guest, Dr. Kirtland Speaks, founder of Expressions Chiropractic and Rehab. Kurt, good to be with you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us. A little introduction. Dr. Speaks received his doctorate degree from Logan Chiropractic College in 1994. Prior to this, he spent 4 years serving in the United States Army Reserves. Thank you for your service. He was an undergraduate of St. Francis College of Pennsylvania, which is 10 miles from where I grew up. Man, this is a great story.
World.
Fellow Western Pennsylvania guy here. He played a little college football there, and all of that sparked a passion in him for sports medicine, and the chiropractic service that he provides reaches out to local high school football teams and other athletes on the sidelines during football season, which happens a lot. His practice focuses on sports medicine, rehab, family chiropractic care, and preventative wellness. He utilizes a variety of chiropractic techniques, including diversified, Thompson, and activator. Dr. Speaks has been married to a wonderful wife, Lisa, since 1995, and they have 2 wonderful children. Very involved in his community here in the Cedar Hill area of the Metroplex, a local Rotary Club, and the Cedar Hill Chamber of Commerce. His office has received numerous awards, including the Dallas Morning News 2009 Best Chiropractor of the Year and the Integrity Management 5-Star Quality Care Award. And we're just delighted. There's a part of your story, though, that's really got my heart, Kurt. And I mentioned earlier about ISF, and it's reaching out to foster care kids as they age out of the system. And that's a part of your story of foster care. And so we got to meet at the ISF Gala last fall and share a little bit about what that was like growing up and how foster care played a part of your own story.
Sure. Thank you. Glad to be here. my parents divorced when I was 3, and unfortunately we didn't have family that could take us in, so my brother and 2 sisters, we all went into the foster system. Over the next 7, 8, 9 years, house to house. I think I've been at 10 different homes before I was 9 years old. My brother and I were separated from our sisters. We were adopted by a family in Western Pennsylvania. I was 10. He was around 12. And we grew up in Pittsburgh ever since. Unfortunately, those parents divorced too, so childhood wasn't the best ever, but being part of the foster system, as I look back at it now, I think it helped me grow in a lot of different ways, really helped me focus on the things I needed to do. And as a foster kid, you kind of get the thing where you've got to take care of yourself, not
right.
trampling on people, but there's not a lot of people out there that are going to help you out. Not like we were looking for people, we wanted help from people, but you kind of have to rely on yourself and get a little more self-reliance younger than somebody normally would. I was fortunate in I had a lot of great foster families. Some of them we're still in contact with through Facebook and things like that. And it's real neat to see that those people have imparted in my life throughout the years and helping me grow and be the man I am today.
But we see that a lot in our ISF students too. You're right. The fact that they've grown up in many cases 10 to 15 different placements forces you to develop a resiliency. What's interesting, and a lot of people might not know this, but only 3% of foster care kids who age out of the system ever get a college degree. So the fact that obviously your adoption helped maybe bring a little stability to that, but the fact that you were in foster care and now have a doctorate degree puts you in a pretty elite kind of grouping. Let's talk a little bit about that journey and just some of the things that have happened to you along the way that have enabled you to build on. And I like what you said about some of the positive things that can actually grow out of some negative kinds of experiences.
Yeah. I was, again, fortunate. The family I was adopted into, my dad was real solid. He wanted my brother and I to go to college. He wanted to just get our college degrees. And so he kind of preached that to us, and we were average students. We weren't the best students, but he instilled in my brother and I, my dad could work, and he instilled in us a really good work ethic in that, and when you get knocked down, you get back up. So as I said, I wasn't the best student. I didn't have a solid educational foundation throughout elementary school. When you're bouncing around foster home to foster homes, you're moving schools, you're changing things up. Learning kind of gets on the back burner. Surviving comes more forward.
That's right.
Yeah.
Staying mentally sane and healthy and that kind of stuff is also real important. And so going through college, both my brother and I, got knocked around a little bit, had some rough semesters, no top of the class guy here. But if anything, a lot of my foster families and then my adopted dad really, really instilled on us that you don't give up. When you get knocked down, you get back up, you dust yourself off, and you get back to work. And he was really good at that. He showed us all the time, 2 and 3 jobs he worked at a time, helping take care of us. And he's just an awesome guy that I really love and respect to this day. And so that's mostly how I got to where I was today. Just, when you get knocked down, and we're all going to get knocked down. Not all of us are going to come from traditional families. I work with a lot of sports teams. About 85% of the kids I work with on a football team are from single-parent homes. And I talk to them all the time. I'm like, yeah, you're going to get knocked around. Nobody's giving you anything in this world. But how you get up, how you dust yourself off, and how you get back to work is going to determine how you're going to be, who you're going to become later on down the road. For these kids we work with, sports is a lot of how they're going to make it into college. But they still have to have some pride in themselves to keep themselves on the straight and narrow, do the grades they need to do, and get where they need to be.
Dr. Speaks, do you recall a time you talk about getting knocked down and then getting back up? And leaders tend to look back at a failure or setback or a disappointment that they really learned something from that really steered them in a different direction. Anything that you recall that was huge in your journey that you would consider a setback in which you got up and really took advantage of that?
I've had a number of them. The one of the biggest ones is, again, as I said earlier, I was between 10 and 11 when I was adopted. My junior year in high school, Mom came to me and said, "Sorry, son, we're getting divorced." I'd been already through multiple homes and all that kind of stuff, and that really knocked me for a loop. And it was a good 8 months or so before I even came out of my shell. Wasn't really talking to friends, wasn't communicating, was not necessarily doing the schoolwork, and I basically was just surviving at the time. I had gone back into survival mode that sometimes happens, when you look at it now. And again, I'm going to talk about importance of parents in life. About a year after my parents divorced, my dad got remarried, and my stepmom, I hadn't talked to you guys about her, but she was a school teacher, and our conversations in that 8 months left there before I graduated high school, it was only about 6 months before I graduated high school from there, but she was just gold and still is to this day, and really helped me kind of get back on focus of what we needed to do, how family could be again, because I thought when they divorced I was going to get out of high school, I was going to join the Army, and I was just going to split. And she made me realize the importance of that family unit that I did have, and although not perfect, it was what I got, and so I needed to make the best of it, and we're really close to this day because of that.
So as you're encouraging these athletes, these young men to take some responsibility to get back up after they've been knocked down, do you find that they've never heard that message before, or are they getting the opposite message of sort of that more of like a victim mentality? Like, where are these young men in that journey, and how are you helping them find that path to more of that personal engagement?
Unfortunately, a lot of them do think of themselves as victims, and they want to complain that nothing's ever worked their way, nothing's going to happen, nobody's ever given me anything. And I'm like, look, I'll give you a hand up, but I'm not giving you a hand out. This world is not nice to some of us, and a lot of times those Leave It to Beaver type families you see, it's only on the outside. Right. It's only the crime. It's not real.
They're the most messed up behind closed doors.
And so what I'll do is, and I don't like to do it in a group, but I'll one-on-one, I'll tell them a little bit of my story and say, look, you're here. This is what you've got to deal with. So you can either take these boulders that are coming your way, and you can use them as stepping stones or stumbling blocks. If you want help on turning these things into stepping stones, I'll help you. If you're just going to fall over yourself and be stumbling blocks the rest of your life and play the victim mentality, I'm still here for you, but no one's going to help you. And you take those stepping stones and you can move them on to any different direction you want to go. And we deal with some incredible athletes at this school that I've been working with, but it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not. Wasn't the best student in life, but I've got a doctorate degree. You could be, you don't have to go to college. You could be car mechanic, carpenter, whatever you want to be, but do it to the best of your ability and realize that some of it comes on your shoulders. There's not a lot of handouts in this world. Not everybody was given everything. And you're just going to have to buck up a little bit and put in some hard work too. And you'll see that people will want to come to your side when you're willing to put yourself forward. Throughout my life, instead of complaining when I worked harder and did all those things, that's when people will join up with you and say, well, hey, I know your story. Let me jump in here and help you out.
I got to believe when they know where you come from, when they hear what your story was, they'll take that advice a little differently than they would someone who doesn't know what you've been through.
And a lot of them too, they don't. I show up to all the games, and they think I came from the Leave It. I know I'm picking on Cleve Beaver, but they think I came from that,
sure,
or had the silver spoon.
Yeah, right.
And so a lot of times once I tell them my story, they're more willing to listen. They're more willing to ask engaging questions and how to help. I was counseling some kids the other day on just how to work through the process of, because I've got a senior son, and we're working through all the college stuff. And so 5 of his buddies were over, and they just started firing questions like, how do I do this? What's going to happen here? How can I do this? Because of the 5, only one of them had both parents.
Wow.
The other 4 of his friends were from single-parent homes.
Fatherlessness today is 25 million kids today growing up without a father.
Talked a lot about the stumbling blocks, but you didn't get where you got today without some successes. So what do you see Dr. Speaks as one of your greatest achievements throughout your journey that's gotten you where you are today?
I have some of the most wonderful kids in the world, and my wife is just absolutely incredible. If you guys ever met her, she is.
You married up.
I have met her. She is awesome.
I have married up multiple levels, and staying focused on family. You know, we've had our ups and downs. We've had our fights. We've been married almost 24 years, but being able to look and say, okay, let's do things the way we're supposed to, so that these kids have a different life than what I had. And that, more so than anything, has kept me focused. That's who I do it for. I don't do the things I do for myself. I do it mostly for them and for the people I meet and the people that we touch through our business and through a church. I just consistently am trying, realize that it's not about me. We weren't put on this earth for us. We were put on this earth to help others. And so that's how I try to live my life. And when you do things, even when you do things wrong and you mess up, when you do it for the right reason and people know your heart, there's a little bit more grace there than when you're the guy always trying to get away with something.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. You mentioned earlier that when people hear your story and then you're a doctorate, that usually is a disconnect. Most kids that have your background don't end up with doctorates. So tell about that journey. How did you end up in chiropractic practice and get into the career side that you've been on?
So actually kind of a funny story, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I went to St. Francis College, as you mentioned. I was in the Army Reserves and playing college football.
What position?
I'm a linebacker.
Okay, I thought so. You have the linebacker build.
So I took a helmet to the knee, tore the ACL, PCL, medial lateral collateral, just shredded the whole knee. Went in for an 1.5-hour surgery, and they were in there for 6.5 hours.
Ouch.
So after the surgery, I'm in the library studying. I didn't know anything about chiropractic. I was a physician assistant major. That's what I was thinking I wanted to do. One of my defensive backs, as a defense, we studied together, which is probably a bad idea for good grades, but a lot of fun. So anyway, I'm literally in a brace from the hip to the ankle, can barely move, swollen, in a lot of pain, and I was doing biochem physics or something. And he stood up. I said, hey, can you grab me some water and get me a book that's not this, just any book? And he came back with some water and a small orange book that I've never been able to find again. It was 40 pages, and it was all about chiropractic. Instantly, got the voice in the back of my head that says, no, this is what I want you to do. So I'm a little bit older than, well, that's the same age as some of you guys. But
Yeah.
so I had to write letters, because there was no internet or anything at the time, to 4 of the colleges, applied, and was instantly accepted as an early admit into graduate school at all 4 schools. And so I left and started graduate school at Logan College in 1991, and was there for about 4 years and got my doctorate degree right after turning 24. And so that's what I tell people. Sometimes I was a little overachiever. I did 4 years of military service, played college football, and got a doctorate by the time I was 24.
Oh.
So.
But you're glad he didn't bring you a book on cosmetology or something, right?
not with my head of hair.
So, Dr. Speaks, you've got this ever-growing business, and we'll talk even more here in a few minutes about expressions, but one of the things that I'm always fascinated about in talking with business leaders is that journey from starting off very small, because that's how we all start, and then the challenges and the hurdles that you've got to get over as a business leader as you begin to grow. So talk a little bit about expansion and growth and some of the stumbling blocks that you've had to at least get over to achieve what you're achieving today.
So fortunately for me, as you guys said, my wife is awesome. I met her. She's a recruiter, and she got me my first job. And so the first 4.5, 5 years, I worked for somebody else. And for me, he was a great business owner. He owned multiple clinics. And for me, that was my area that I was able to learn basically on somebody else's dime. Most chiropractors are sole practitioners. And so when we finally moved to Dallas, we worked through the procedure, open our office. I had a number of years experience all over under my belt. My wife is a speaker for Parker Seminars, which is the largest chiropractic seminar series in the country. And so I just surrounded myself with a lot of the chiropractic leaders, their books, their methodology. As you mentioned, I'm a 5-star integrity management. And that's not just something they give out. It's a consulting firm for chiropractic that you can hire, and they coach you through how to run an office on a daily basis. And so, as I say, I'm not the smartest guy always in the room, but I can hire some of the smartest coaches. And so from the time we set up our office, I had a coach hired before we even opened the first Expressions Chiropractic, and was being coached on how to run that each and every day and grow, and then surrounded myself with a really good team of people that are way more important than I am in the entire organization. And I think that's key to anybody in business. There's guys out there that do it alone, but most of them are really surrounded by a good team. And that's how you can, in my opinion, you make it great in this world.
Why should somebody choose Expressions?
Because we're gonna bend over backwards to take the absolute best care of you that we can, and we treat every single patient like their family. The good part of family. Yes. Sometimes you've got that crazy uncle you really don't want to see. Right. But we're gonna do everything we can to get you better and get you back on the road to health and teach you what you can do to stay that way. And we have fun doing it. I have a patient that still flies in every once in a while from Poland just to see me.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Talk a little bit about, Blair was mentioning your week in, week out sideline work. So what does it look like on the sideline of a high school football game or a high school sporting event? What are you guys doing down there?
So I'm with Trinity Christian School. So if any of you guys watching TV and you're in the Dallas area, you know Deion Sanders is our head football coach. And so we just won our second state championship. Our school got visited by Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher. We've got some of the top defensive backs in the league, and Deion Sanders' 2 sons are there. But our job is just being on the sidelines for the kids. It's my 19th year with the team, and just keeping them in the game safely. When they get injured, making them rest, helping them. Anybody that's playing football can come to the office for free. We treat them no charge, get them back on the field. And, I'm real cautious because in football and in life, you play hurt, but you don't play injured. Right. And so, and some of these guys they just want to go no matter what. They'll get a concussion and they're like, they want to end the next play. So.
What's your take on that? That is a really hot topic right now. And a lot of parents with kids that are great athletes steering away from the game of football. And I just happen to be a football lover, and so it makes me sad, but the realities of what's going on in the sport and how rough it is and how violent it really is. What's your take on that, and where do you see youth sports going and how that might be impacted by what we're seeing?
Finally, with everything that's going on in the pros, we're getting some of the better equipment. A lot of high schools, especially ours as a private Christian school, doesn't have the budget for the good helmets. And not pat myself on the back, but having people on the sidelines that really know concussions are scary. And so that's the one thing I'll mess with. If I've got a kid that wants to go back in after he sprained an ankle and feel like, 50-50, I think he'll be okay, that's fine. But if there's any question at all with any head injury in a kid, they sit out. And we're real strict about that. I've got a great coaching staff that backs us up on that all the time. And again, that's one thing you don't mess with. You're going to be bruised and beat up and sore and tired. It's a battle out there. It's not life or death, but it's a battle, and it's a lot of fun. But we don't mess with head injuries, and never have on any of my career. And I've been on the sidelines with this school and other schools since probably 1990, working on youth sports. And actually, the not funny part, but what most people don't realize is everybody thinks, well, I'm going to go to a safer sport. I'm going to let the kids play soccer. And soccer has more concussions and more ACL injuries than football does.
Well, I mean, it's a sport in which you're encouraged to not use anything but your head or your feet. I mean, that's it. So it makes perfect sense. So how do folks find out about Expressions and can get in to see you guys to get some treatment?
Easiest way is go to expressionschiropractic.com. You can find all of our locations right on that, and hit a button, request an appointment, fill out the new patient paperwork. But expressionschiropractic.com is the easiest way.
Yeah, what a joy it's been to just walk with this journey that you're on. And we often ask our guests if there's some leadership readings and books that have shaped a little bit of your views of leadership. Add to our library. What's been influential for you?
I'm a big fan of anything John Maxwell.
Yeah.
I also Kiyosaki's books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I also have taught some of the Dave Ramsey courses, because if you can't take care of your finances, no matter what you make, those are real important. And on a typical average, like a lot of leaders today, I'd say on average I'm reading 6 books at a time. And even as a kid, going through all the foster systems and everything, my brother and I were huge readers. I couldn't tell you how many times I got in trouble because I was sitting in class not paying attention but reading multiple books at the same time. And so just get anything you can, but listen to the leaders. And like John Maxwell's kind of my favorite right now. We're doing a couple studies in that. But
So what book's on your nightstand right now you're reading?
I have John Maxwell's newest book, The 15 Reasons for Financial Success. I'm reading the story, which I was just telling Dr. Blair about, is a Max Lucado book in which he takes the Bible and he novelized it into 31 chapters. And it takes out the begots and and it makes it more like a story. And I really am enjoying it. And then I'm reading a couple books on prayer, because unlike this show, I'm not a good talker. And so I'm trying to be a better prayer warrior, because God and Jesus and I are buds. I'll be like, hey, Lord, this situation needs help. And sometimes I think you're supposed to pray longer than that, but I think he gets it. Yeah. But those are the 3 I've got on mine now. I'm also doing, my wife and I, the last six years or so, have been doing the ketogenic diet. So I'm reading some of those and trying to update some of that on the keto diet.
Gosh, I always get so upset that the show's ending. There's so many good things to talk
could go
about.
in another direction. Well, it's
right
been
there.
rich, and thanks, Kurt, for giving the time to us. So I think we started a little trivia question back with you. So Tyler, what's the answer to that fascinating journey of a hatchet man?
Yeah,
who became a Christian leader.
That's right. Created one of the largest non-profit ministries called Prison Fellowship, and his name is Charles Chuck Colson. A great story about redemption and taking a mistake and turning it around into something really great.
Yeah, and that's really at the heart of Legends leadership, because where we start out, where we end up, who knows about that story? But there's a journey that we're all on, and we got this idea that it'd be great to do an event every spring that ISF can sponsor and Carrington can co-sponsor with us, where we just give a gift to the Dallas community and do a leadership luncheon. So on Wednesday, May 1st, we are holding our inaugural Legends and Leadership luncheon at the Clubs at Prestonwood in North Dallas. And our special guest is a talk about stories of redemption, a mafia boss who walked away, the only known guy, I think, that walked away from the mafia. Michael Franzese is going to be in Dallas, and he's going to be our guest speaker at our inaugural. Going to have a special Distinguished Leader Award. We'll be announcing that here shortly. And so just want to let all of our listeners know, if you're in Dallas on May 1st, come join us for lunch at the Country Club at Prestonwood, and you can get more information and tickets at the ISF website, isfsite.org, and come join us.
It's going to be really fascinating. Michael speaks all over the country and has been an author of a couple books, one called Blood Covenant, but an amazing story of redemption, and excited about getting a great crew together for a great cause and a really fun lunch and opportunity.
Well, that'll wrap it up for today. And Dr. Speaks, it's been great to have you with us on our podcast today. And I hope you had a good time.
Yes,
we sure did. We sure did, and can't thank you enough for being with us. And so we just thank everybody for listening again, and just want to leave you with these really challenging words. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.